My name is Gwen, and I'm 26. I never imagined parenthood could be this terrifying. The moment I held my newborn son, Heath, I felt love so fierce it was almost painful, but so was the unease that settled in my chest. My mother-in-law, Trish, had moved in, claiming to help, but there was something in her eyes I couldn't shake, a longing, an obsession. One night, I heard her whispering to Heath in ways that made my blood run cold. That's when I realized I might need a hidden camera to protect my own child from someone I should trust. Having a baby completely changed my life in ways I never expected. Growing up as the youngest in my family, I had spent years being cared for with people always making things easier for me. But the moment I held my son in my arms, I realized everything I knew about life would shift. The endless responsibility, the constant worry, the sleepless nights, it all hit me at once. Hi, I'm Gwen, and at 26, I became a mother for the first time. My son Heath was everything to me, and from the moment I heard his first tiny desperate cries in the hospital, I knew my life had a new center. I was going to dedicate myself entirely to him. After all, isn't that what every parent does? But as I quickly learned, parenthood doesn't always unfold the way we imagine. This is where my mother-in-law Trish entered our lives. Trish had recently gone through her second divorce and with nowhere else to go came to stay with us. She was not in the best mental state, unstable, anxious, and carrying the weight of decades of disappointment and loss. She had Hugh when she was very young, and her previous marriages had left him with emotional scars. I had known she had experienced a lot, but when I married Hugh, I also learned something startling. She had had another child later in her second marriage, an attempt she and her husband had thought might save their relationship. It didn't. She lost custody, and the pain of that loss lingered in her eyes. When we brought Heath home from the hospital, Trish was ecstatic. She would sit by his cradle for hours, staring at him in awe, barely blinking as if she were afraid he might disappear. Part of me appreciated her presence. It was nice to have someone so captivated by him. But there was an intensity in her gaze, a longing that made me uneasy. I sensed she was drawn to him because he reminded her of the children she had lost or never had the chance to raise. One afternoon, as we were settling into the living room, she turned to me with a curious look. "So, what are you going to name him? I bet he looks like a Raymond or a Carlo. Those are handsome names." I laughed softly, a little nervous. "We've already decided. His name is Heath." "Heath? I love it. Little guy, can I hold him?" she asked eagerly. I handed him over gently, trusting her experience with children. She had raised more babies than I had. Years of life. So, I trusted her, at least at first. Hugh and I smiled as she played lightly with him, admiring how small and delicate he was. But soon, Heath began to cry. "Here, let me have him. He must be hungry," I said, reaching toward her. "Oh, nonsense," Trish said firmly, bouncing him lightly. "He just wants attention." I glanced at Hugh, feeling a knot of worry tighten in my chest. "Mom, I think he's too young for that. Let Gwen take care of him," he said gently, trying to intervene. "He doesn't have to be hungry. I've got this handled," Trish replied, her tone stubborn, refusing to hand him over. "Please, Trish, let me have the baby." "You can have some water if you like," I said, trying to stay calm. "He's not hungry. His tummy is full." "I can hear it," she insisted, shaking Heath gently. And that was the moment my nerves finally broke. His cries grew louder, and I had to snatch him from her arms. She tried to hold on, making odd faces, but I wouldn't let go. That was only the beginning. Her behavior became a constant source of stress. She would wake Heath even when he was sleeping, insisting he only needed attention, and that feeding or regular sleep schedules were secondary. "Oh, you new mothers think you know everything. No wonder kids today are spoiled," she argued whenever I tried to correct her. I tried reasoning with her patiently. "Trish, he's only a few weeks old. He needs to eat and sleep regularly." Her careless attitude made me feel as if Heath were being treated like a toy, something fun to play with, not a delicate little human being who needed care and attention. I tried talking to Hugh about it, but he often dismissed my concerns. He wasn't around much when she played with Heath since he worked long hours while I stayed home on unpaid maternity leave, barely managing to make ends meet. One night, while trying to get Heath to sleep, I heard loud stomping from our small one-bedroom apartment. Trish, who had been napping, was pacing and muttering. When she saw me peek into the room, She swung the door open abruptly. You think I should talk to my lawyer again? She demanded. For what? I asked cautiously. For my baby like the one you have. Maybe I could get her back if I try. I could file a lawsuit against Tommy and prove he's not reliable for her to grow up with. Her ex Tommy had custody of their child. I felt pity for Trish was clearly in a fragile mental state, but I had to be firm. Trish, even if you manage to prove he's unfit, you won't automatically get custody. That would mean both parents are considered unfit and she'd go into foster care until adoption. That's the legal reality. Only then could you possibly adopt her? She glared at me, disbelief and fury in her eyes. Are you calling me crazy? I raised your husband. I sacrificed everything. And now you're telling me I can't have this baby. Yes, Trish, Heath is my son. Yours is in the past. You need help before you can think about another child, I said firmly. Her face contorted with anger. Shut up, I'm leaving, she screamed, storming toward the door. I feared she might harm herself or Heath, but she didn't. Her custody obsession had clearly warped her thoughts when I told Heath what happened. He was furious with me for letting her leave unsupervised. He didn't understand how much she had been obsessing over the baby. Later, she returned, claiming she had been sitting on a park bench all afternoon, though it had only been a few hours. She apologized quietly and went to nap, asking to help put Heath to sleep, but I refused to leave him in her hands without supervision. Days passed and things didn't improve. One afternoon, while we were caring for a sleeping Heath, she asked casually, how much does it cost to care for a baby these days? I gave her a rough estimate: diapers, care accessories, the cradle about $1,100 for the first month, and that didn't include baby-proofing the house, which could get expensive. Oh, it didn't used to be so expensive back in my day, she mused. When I had Huey, I wouldn't have hesitated. Babies are angels until they start crying. But yes, I'd give anything for little Heath. Her calling him our baby felt strange and uncomfortable, but I tried not to dwell on it. Days passed quickly, and Trish began leaving the house every evening around 5 p.m., all dressed up and carrying her purse. I doubted she had romantic interests at her age, so I assumed she was just taking walks and trying to feel good about herself. Honestly, we were supportive of her improving mental health. Her behavior with Heath also became more normal. She no longer acted weirdly, would give me the baby whenever he cried, and even helped Macca his food and buy diapers occasionally. I was relieved. She was finally feeling better and more like herself. I was considering leaving Heath with her when I went back to work, which was going to be soon, but then one day I heard her playing with Heath in the living room. I've been taking care of him all day and was exhausted. I tried drifting off to sleep, but Heath's cries woke me up. As soon as I got to my feet, he became quiet and I heard Trish, "That's a good boy, that's a good baby, you're mine, Oka, my baby, and mom is going to take a real good care of you. We're going to golfing away to a nice place where you'll have nice toys to play with. Don't yell at that." I wondered how much of what said was true and how much was just play. When I fully woke up, I realized his cradle had been moved. From my room, the cradle wasn't very heavy, but the thought of her moving it without waking me wasn't settling. When I moved into the living room, my heart skipped a beat. The cradle had been modified, and she'd hung massive Christmas balls on top of it to distract the baby. They looked pretty, but they were made of glass and could have fallen in his face at any time. I quickly rushed over and picked him up quietly. "What are you doing?" "He's enjoying it, Trish," said Trish. "Where did you get these Christmas balls?" "I found them in your storeroom. I thought he'd enjoy them, Trish. Those are really, really heavy, not for us, but for the baby feet are. How did you tie them up?" "Their face look like they could fall at any moment." Hey, what's with all this constant accusing? I got the baby to be quiet and you're still not happy with me. I appreciate that you got him to quiet. I really do. I'm happy that you're getting along with him, but these balls are dangerous. His older plastic toy wouldn't hurt him if it fell. How did you even get it down?" "I thought it was attached to the cradle." "Oh, I ripped it off. It didn't take much. This is so much prettier. I don't see the problem at all. I understand, but please, let's take it off, okay?" It could hurt him to put the old one back on. When it looks though too weak to hold anything, Trish made a face and pulled the Christmas balls away. As soon as she touched them, two of them fell straight into the cradle. Impressions on the bedding fats where my child could have been. Her intentions were good, but her methods were dangerous. She left us in the living room and retreated to my room to sleep afterward. She became a bit detached from every morning she'd go out and not come back for hours. Every time I asked where she was going, she'd reply just the post office. I'll be back soon. The central post office was far from our place, but not so far that it would take Keith whole day. She continued whispering strange things in Heath's ears whenever she had the chance and smiled at me weirdly when I was around, feeling increasingly uncomfortable. I opened up to Hugh again. I told you she's trying to get better. Why aren't you being supportive? Hugh said she's still excitedly around him, telling him he's Harrowby and repeating her own name. So Hugh would say it first. Do you already know about the Christmas balls? I'm concerned. No. You're overthinking. This is taking care of our baby. Yes, the Christmas balls were a slip up, but Yo handled it. And she won't do it again, okay? You need to help her get to the post office for whatever reason she's going. I've asked. She just says she'll manage and goes away, not coming back until evening. Huge. She's obviously not going to the post office every day. Why won't she? Because she used to work. Darren has friends there. Maybe she's gotten herself a part-time job. Then why would she tell us about it? I don't know. Look, just relax and stop keeping an eye out for my mom. She's innocent. There's no need to incriminate her. That was it. I kind of lost it when he refused to believe me no matter what I said. That time for me to start going back to work was approaching. I knew this moment would come sooner or later, so I decided to prepare without letting anyone know. Installed the baby monitor in the wall hidden from plain sight when both Hugh and Trish were out. I got set up when I started working. Trish began staying home most days, seeming normal. She'd take Heath away to play and non put him back to sleep. I was only working part-time, so I'd be back before it was too late. But one day I heard Hurdle King to Heath on the baby monitor. Or going to fly away. Heath, me and Yoma has been working so hard at school teaching little kids like you all day. Oh, Mama has so many plans. One Chesh runs away with you. I heard Heath giggle and coo as she picked him up and spun around the room. My baby, a little baby. Do you like spinning? Do you like eat off course? You do? We're going to go far away from your little cradle. I'll get you a new one with big shiny balls on it. You'll have a pretty mom. Unlike Yerma, we'll make daddy run away too. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. What was going on? Horesh continued spinning around the room for a while. When she finally sat down, Heath started crying. Within moments, she put him aside on the edge of the bed and held her own head in her hands as if Shah had just gotten vertigo from playing with him. My soul almost leaped out of my body when I thought Heath was about to fall off the edge, but she picked him up just in time and put him back in the cradle. You keep crying, and I'm not giving you any more attention in my house. You learn discipline from the get-go. Children these days, I swear to God, she said and slammed the door. I was starting to get really concerned. I had recorded the whole footage and considered sending it to Hugh, but I had to make sure I wasn't being delusional that day. I went home. Early worrying got Heath. Trish opened the door from a looking all worn out and tired. Shandon, without saying a word, went back to sleep in her bed in a living room. I rushed into my room and quickly Heath. He cried for a bit, but then full asleep again. He wasn't quite taking to the bottle yet. Once things were quiet, I locked the room from on the inside and begging, searching Trit. Always kept a biggered purse with her whenever she went out. I had to find it after rifling through me room for almost an hour. I found nothing. Where could she possibly keep it? Curious? I went outside and saw a thing from the coat rack. I grabbed him, making as little noise as possible. And behold, she had been speaking the truth. She had a teacher ID card for our school and a plane ticket in there was scheduled for the day after tomorrow. I was blown away. This woman had been conspiring to run away with my child. I kept both items to myself and sent the video to Hugh, asking him to come home as soon as possible. If he's can't be real. Oh, for God's sake, still think I'm overreacting, I asked. Hugh held the ticket and the ID card in his hand. After watching the footage, Hugh was completely speechless, but now everything had become clear. Trish had worked for months to save up a nominee to make these arrangements. Shek clearly needed a lot of help. Hugh didn't have a word to say in his defense, but Hesed will need to call my father. Jonah picked up the call quickly when him in the conversation was quite saddening. But one thing was for certain, had to get rid of Trish. She did not belong in our house. You think you should leave her in a retirement home? Jonas August. That's what I do. I don't know. I think she needs to be put in psychiatric care first, he replied, So the line is you want her out of Fee House for good eyes? Yes, please. Okay. Well, I'll come over to talk to her in person. Let's get started. Jonah had been around when Heath was born. He and Trish would butt heads over the smallest things, so it was a bite uncomfortable. But he showed up anyway. Hugh and Jonah talked to Trish and there was a lot of crying and yelling. I know he's my son. Trish, you need to get out of here before we have to forcefully remove you. Oh, I'll see how you remove me. I had lost my patience. By then, Trish had done so much to anger Method. I wanted her out of our lives for good. You will never set foot in this house again. Just go away. Keep your hands off my son. Enough, enough. The two of you. Please don't make this complicated comb with us. Hugh pleaded the fighting conscience for a while. Finally, we decided to place her in a retirement home for Bud the people at the nursing home. Safety give her some psychological help as well. I didn't care anymore. I tore up the plane tickets in front of her and Keith the school she worked at to let them not to have her close to any kid severe again. I may have overdone some things in my anger, but it was necessary. 3. Would you leave your child alone with someone you trusted or would you take extreme measures to protect them? Click to see what I discovered.